Okay, so today I am at DragonBet HQ in Cardiff with David Lovell. Thanks very much, David, for agreeing to do this. You're a bit of a hard fish to catch. I mean, why so reticent previously?
Not a particularly confident public speaker, to be honest, Simon, so not overly comfortable in front of a camera. Generally, the way our business has gone, my brother's done this side of things, so he's far more comfortable in the kind of customer facing and public speaking roles, and I've been involved more in the behind the scenes stuff.
Okay, so up until recently, well, as far as I know, you were a professional punter with hardly an angle uncovered, and now you're co-founder with your brother James of DragonBet, which has gone from a standing start to sponsoring home meetings, prestigious ones at that, and employing over 50 people in what seems like no time. Was this your speed of ascendency in your business plan?
There was a business plan. I actually dug it out and looked at it the other day. No, I think our greatest asset, to be honest, when we started DragonBet was our naivety. If we knew what was required, we probably wouldn't have ever taken the plunge. But we didn't expect the growth or the success we've achieved so far. But it's been really good.
Okay, so how long has the business been going now?
I think we've been incorporated for just over 4 years, but we've probably been operationally live for about 3.5.
Okay, so does having made a living from mercilessly profiting from chinks in bookmakers' armour make being on the other side of the fence easier?
I think it did in the early days of DragonBet, when I was more involved in the operational side of the business, so I was more involved in the trading, the individual decisions around customers. It helped then. Less so now that the role I kind of take in the business at the moment, I'd be less involved in kind of day-to-day trading of things. So I think it has less relevance than it did in the early days. I still have weekly calls with the trading and team, and I think I'm able to express a view there, and hopefully some of my views and ideas filter down to the team, but wouldn't be as much of an asset as we would have imagined it would have been prior to going live.
Okay, so James is sort of front of house, so to speak. So what is your role?
I'd be involved in a lot more of the nuts and bolts of the business, I would say. So some more of the strategic stuff behind the scenes, licensing, finance, corporate structures, management generally.
Okay, so you are. So are you now totally on the other side of the fence, or do you still have a little operation going where you're punting?
No, I'm thankfully totally on the other side of the fence. I'm really glad that I don't have to bet for a living anymore, to be honest. If I have a bet now, it will be either testing other operators' products and stuff like that, or it will be, rather stupidly, with negative EV back in Wales in rugby.
So did your professional punting career start within running? Or were you already a successful punter before that?
No, it started with the exchanges for sure. Didn't start within running. It started with playing around as a big form student of the point-to-points. So used to use Betfair to try and identify value in hunter chases under rules. So that was my first kind of foray into pro-punting, was via point-to-point form study. That then moved into arbing. So used to use my old man's telephone accounts with Stan James, William Hill, whatever else we could get our hands on, credit accounts at that time as well, and used to use those accounts to arb on the exchanges via being exposed to the exchanges. That then moved into in running. Okay,
so the in running, I mean, when did you notice that was a sort of
I would say around 2003, 2004. There was whispers around it, just being exposed to the exchange relatively daily. Just started to become aware of it.
How did, just going back to the arbing, how long did they stand for that? Because they stood for it a long time in the race course.
Stood for it for a long time, and we probably stopped doing it because of the explosion of him running and focusing on that when you could still get on. So yeah, stood for it for a long time. Some of those old phone accounts were brilliant.
Now, so you and your late father John, who was a bookmaker we'll talk about later, so you owned a betting shop which had an in-running sort of suite in it. Had you already started making money betting in running yourself?
Suite is a grand term. It was, what it really was the worst betting shop in Great Britain, which was what we used to call it, and it was pretty accurate. My dad bought that so that I really could take advantage of the old SAS analog feeds relative to the slower digital feeds to bet in play. So I was kind of making money on the exchanges via the Arbin, a bit of form study with the hunter chasers, and then really dove in to the in-play space via this small betting shop and the analog feeds. Used to kind of sit there on an old IKEA desk with Lucky 15s and fagash coming over the top of my head when I was trying to bet in play. And then from that betting shop, we extended that out into the suite, as you refer to it. But that was really just knocking a hole in the wall and going through to next door social club.
Right, so was this at the finding it on the floor stage? Because I mean, I've heard about the guys that had the dish and they had literally 10 seconds.
Yeah, we had those dishes, the old motorised satellite dishes. Find it on the floor. I've heard you call it that before. What I always found really interesting is, for some people it was, for some people they really took to it, but there's no particular rhyme or reason to it. Loads of people came through the doors of that office and I'm sure tried it outside, at home or in different areas. And we'd have some really bright guys, some guys who were brilliant form students, some of my friends who were really academic and had gone on to have great careers elsewhere, just couldn't take to it. And I never really understood why, whether it's like mentality, reaction speeds. Never been able to fathom that out. But for those who did take to it, it was really lucrative. For me and my kind of cohort of friends who kind of came along to do it, I think it was relatively finding on the floor. I think that the problem for us was our age, our naivety, bit of ego as well, thinking it's going to last forever. First time we'd been exposed to money, didn't really know how good it was, and probably didn't capitalise on the opportunity as much as we should have.
I mean, I think with the going back to my finding it on the floor thing, I was sort of at the very beginning, Betfair used to suspend the race off the telly. So that in that case, you didn't even have to have any skill. You just had 10 seconds to mop it all up. Yeah. But so at your stage, people did have to have a modicum of skill there to be fast on the finger, know which colours were which.
Yeah, I was doing it pre-colours without any of the softwares and just had to use the keyboard really quickly. So yeah, maybe those really early days. I think that was the kind of Aidan Butler glory days.
That's what I was referring to.
I think I would have joined it just slightly after that real boom.
Yeah. So your guys that were coming in were would have been probably good at playing esports, as you call it now, but good at gaming.
Yeah, there was a wide range of people who made it pay and with different strategies and different skill sets, I guess. A lot of my friends did it, so a lot of my friends from school, rather than going down the university path, were aware of this thing going on. So came and followed me down to the exchange office. And their skills were more around reaction speeds. They weren't particular form students. They would be able to just react quickly, would see each race as a blank canvas and see it as more of a computer game than as a race reading, understanding that this horse finds under pressure or this won't stay or whatever it may be. It was very much more reaction based and a computer game.
Yes, as when I was asking your friends and family to mark my card before I did this, one of them said that there's a friend of yours that won 100 grand in a year and you invited him to the Cheltenham Festival and he asked what that was.
Yeah, I know the friend you're referring to. He's still one of my best friends. He still bets in running for a living. He's probably one of the most successful. It wasn't £100,000, it would have been closer to £300,000. And even to this day, he's a particular type of character, but even to this day, I wouldn't be certain that he knew who Sean Bowen was. And exactly that, right? He sees it as a computer game. He doesn't see it as understanding form or race reading.
Okay, so there was, I had friends that were at Canary Wharf places and, flats in Canary Wharf and making fortunes. But there was a very quick evolution in the in-running game, and a lot of the ones that didn't spot that other people had moved on, sort of done a lot of what they'd won before they clocked on. Before they realised that somebody else had an edge, and there was lots of edges. Yeah, people like you probably were finding. But that
was the game, right? Was trying to find the edge all the time, trying to be at the front of that queue, and would be aware of kind of shifting fortunes of different cohorts of groups who used to work together and how well you positioned yourself relative to those feed latencies essentially would determine your success generally.
So would most of the people that you brought along have stayed ahead of the curve?
Yeah, very much so. 5 or 6 of more than that, I'd say, of my friends still bet in play for a living. Exchange liquidity is decreasing all the time, so it's an increasing challenge. It's less about finding the edges now. It seems to be a kind of default position. Everyone has the same softwares, everyone has the same feed advantages. So the playing field is leveled, but there's still a living to be made there.
So how long did the glory days last with that?
Yeah, how do you define glory days,
Well,
really?
how long did the exchange suite stay open?
That closed just at the dawn of COVID, so just not actually as a result of COVID, but closed anyway. I think it moved to remote work, some political stuff going on as well, so that closed just as COVID came along. Some of the guys are still making really good money relative to taxable salaries, right? So I'd say there's still good living to be made. The real glory days, I guess, would be kind of 10 years, from 2005 to 2017, so maybe 12 years.
So was the move to boxes the next step?
Yeah, exchange offices, boxes, there was a whole range of iterations in between that, motorised satellites. It was FaceTime then came along, then it was scopes on iPhones and big lenses outside of racecourses looking at big screens, and then the final iteration, which is the kind of default play now, is the drones.
When you first started, was there the sort of Gruss software and BetAngel, that sort of thing?
No, not when I started. When I started, it was keyboard for me. We did play around with some bespoke made software, but always reverted to either Gruss or BetAngel.
So you made, I don't expect you to tell us any figures, but you became relatively wealthy for a young man on the back of it, wealthy enough to at one time own 30 racehorses.
Yeah, I don't know if I owned 30 racehorses at once, but definitely owned more than 30 over my lifetime. Initially funded by in-play betting. I wouldn't say it kind of funded it. It happened relatively organically. Bought a leg in a horse, then bought my first horse, and they funded themselves for a period. We would try and land gambles with them, which would kind of precede the next purchase, and that just kind of grew and grew until lost a bit of guidance, lost my dad, plenty of ego and naivety when I was younger, and probably, as you referred to earlier, didn't realise our edge had dried up in relation to landing those touches, and relatively naively thought I was going to be the next JP McManus or Sheikh Mohammed, and started trying to buy a different type of horse, and that unravelled relatively quickly then. Okay,
we'll talk about that in a bit. I just want to go back, so when you were making money in running, was there any other sort of punting going along in parallel?
Yeah, we had a team of guys who used to run around the country for us, not throughout the period. So outside of in-play, which was my bread and butter, we had dipped our toe in the kind of the standard fairs, I would see it, for pro-punters in that age, which would have been teams of guys running across the country, taking advantage of price-wise grids, Betfair pushes, goals galore coupons, Oxford dogs, 16 to 22 on the handicaps, each way places on the Masters or surrounding big golf tournaments. Used to be able to take show prices from American racing with Coral, so trying to find quirky little edges. But the important thing for us was having that team to be able to deliver it. So yeah, that would have happened in parallel within running for a good few years, as well as the racehorse ownership was, we were trying to drive some profitability from that for at least in the early days of that.